My name is Colby McCahan, and this August, God walked me through a battle with testicular cancer. Um, this past summer, I was on a mission trip in Toronto, Canada, and I was there for about a month and a half. As the trip was coming to the close, I went into the doctor and I was like, "Doc, something's going on, and it is not right. What's happening?" Basically, he ended up telling me, "You might have cancer. You need to be aware that in a week when you have a doctor's appointment, you might hear that from a urologist." And in that moment, when I heard that, I was horrified, scared, freaked out, terrified, didn't know what my future was going to hold, didn't know what the rest of my life was going to look like. And I was scared what the next couple months of my life were going to be like, and I didn't even know what they were going to be. I didn't know whether or not I was going to be able to go back to school like I had planned in the fall, or I was going to have to be going through chemo treatments and fighting cancer for the next year of my life. And I didn't know how long that was going to last. I didn't even know what having cancer entailed. I basically God just dropped this bomb of question marks on me, and I didn't know what to do. The crazy thing though is through the next month and a half, when I had to walk through this struggle of finding out I had cancer, dealing with the cancer, going and getting surgery, getting treated, and moving through it to the point where now I'm back at school and I'm trying to live my life as a normal college student. Through this next month, I saw God working in so many ways through it. The biggest overall theme, the biggest thing that was going on during this time was that I was able to see God carry me through it on the wings of other people, on the wings of the community that was around me. So, for example, I was told by a doctor that I might have it on a Thursday. The next Wednesday is when I actually got the diagnosis. In that entire week, I had conversations with friends from back home, with BSM directors, with a random stranger on the street, with a guy who had walked through this before that I had never met, who was a friend of a friend from the church that I was a part of. Every single step of the way, God gave me somebody to give me encouragement and to bring me through the day, up until the day that I was at the hospital, and through the day that I was there, and every single day after that. The craziest one in that was on that Saturday, I was setting up to do outreach with West Toronto Baptist Church. We posted up in front of the church on this busy street. We were handing out free lemonade and Bibles. And as I was setting up the table and putting it together, some random stranger walked up to me and started asking me if I was a Christian and telling me that he was a Christian and that God had walked him through cancer 3 different times. He was telling me how he was a man from Poland and how a Nazi soldier had saved his life when he was a child. That's not one that you hear often, so that story really caught my attention. But he was just telling me about all these different health issues that he had faced in his life. He was a very old man, haggard old man at this point, but he sat down and talked to me for an hour and a half. And it wasn't until at the end of that hour and a half that I told him I had just been diagnosed with this potential cancer. We weren't even sure at that point whether or not it was cancer. It was just potential. And so I asked him, "Hey, why did you come up and talk to me?" And he just simply left me with the question, "Well, why do you think?" And walked off and continued on his day. I think his name was Tim or Terry or something like that. I don't really remember. I know it started with a T. But he was a random stranger that I'd never met before in the middle of Toronto, which is a city that doesn't have too many Christians. And so that was the biggest blessing in that week that stood out to me. There were small ones through a bunch of different people that entire week, up until the day that I received that final diagnosis that yes, this was cancer and I needed to go home and get treated. Coming home, sitting on the plane, I didn't know what to expect. I was reading through a book about suffering that the pastor at the church had given me. And one of the things that I really took away from it was that when you go through intense times of suffering, it is not a determinant of your relationship with God. The fact that you are suffering, the fact that you are going through these things is not determinant. It's not a determinant factor of your relation with God. It is not a reflection of your standing with God. How you walk through it and how you work through it and how you put your faith in Him while you go through this shows a reflection of your heart or your faith. Don't take any condemnation for that. I did a horrible job at it. I was pissed off, angry, frustrated, and really mad I got through this entire thing. There are a couple nights where I spent cussing him out, wondering, God, what's going on? What's going to happen? What am I going to do? Like, where's my life going to go? You're totally wrecking all these plans, future plans that I had for myself. You're turning them on their head and you're throwing them out the window. I don't know if you've given me this. I'm not sure that I can trust you with it. That's how I felt in the moment. It wasn't until months later that I started to see this provision of community. But now, coming back home, I once again fell into the arms of community. I got back on a Friday. Saturday, my roommate came up and spent time with me. That week, my parents' church wrapped me in their arms with prayer. Through that week, I got to go see a lot of my friends who were interns at the BSM. They were going to be interns next year, and they just conveniently happened to be in Dallas the same week that I came back. And so half my support system, the people that I was the closest with and wanted to see in this time, were conveniently located a 45-minute drive away from my hometown. And so I got to go see them after I spoke with the doctor and after I had surgery. On Tuesday after I came into town, I met with the doctor. I had my appointment with an oncologist to figure out, okay, what are the next steps in treatment? Where do we go? What do we do? What does it mean that I have cancer? He basically told me the next step is surgery. And so we looked at the surgeon's schedule, and it was booked out till September for the next month and a half. It's because the surgeon was going on an exchange program to Brazil. And so he was about to leave the country. And I didn't think I was going to get into the top guy for a while. I was like, well, I don't know what's going to go. What do we do? And he's like, well, let me step outside and give him a call. We'll see if we can make something work. If not, you can go see a different doctor. And so I was just sitting there as he stepped out, and I said a quick prayer to God. I'm like, God, if you want this to happen, if you want me to be back in College Station this semester, please move this along, because I just want some answers at this point. 5 minutes later, he pokes his head back in and is like, hey, the surgeon's waiting on you in the other building. Can you go see him right now? And so I got to meet with the surgeon that day, and we scheduled surgery for 2 days later. I think it was 2 days before he flew out of the country for the next month. So it was crazy to see God's little bit of provision in that, where like I asked for him to speed it up and he did. It was really cool to see that. Even though it was small, it made a huge impact for me. One of the great things about having that community there in Dallas is they got to come see me before surgery and spend time with me after surgery. And they got to spend it with my parents all the way through surgery. And it was a blessing just to see how God conveniently lined that up. It's crazy because the day that they finished their retreat is the day that I went into surgery. I had a friend who was on my team in Toronto. She flew into town the day before my surgery and stayed the night, and she came and saw me before I went into surgery. And then all the interns that were up there for Dallas for their retreat, they got to come stay with my parents while I was in surgery and come see me afterwards. And so some of the people that I most wanted to see at the end were there. The next week, I had to wait a couple days, and then I had a CT scan after the surgery to find out, okay, has this cancer spread, has it not? After finding out that the cancer hadn't spread, after being able to start school, I've been grateful for every single day that I've been here during this semester. It's a constant reminder that God is loving, God is faithful, that He cares, and that He has an individual love for me. That's one thing that I got to experience during this battle with cancer, is that God really showed me that He has a love that is individual and specific for me. It is not just a love because I'm a Christian or a love because I'm a believer, but a love for me, Colby McCahan. And for me, it's been one of the few times in my life that I've really felt that in a way that is true deeply, deeply in my heart, without a doubt, that, okay, God has this love for me and it is personal. And it is individual to me, and it doesn't include anybody else. He knows me as a father, and I am His child, and He loves me in that way. It's been really cool to see this entire semester as He's walked me through battles with anger, fear, some depression, and he's given me, once again, an amazing community that he surrounded me with. Friends that have been patient through my bouts with anger. Part of this has been going through hormonal imbalance, and for me, that's left me angry the entire time at about everything before I could get on treatment for that. And so for the first probably month of the semester, I was angry the entire time over the smallest, littlest things. But God gave me a community that's been gracious with me. My friends knew it was going on, and they were just patient with me through it. They kept on encouraging me and kept on talking me through it when I was angry, when I was upset, even though it didn't make sense and it seemed like I was getting frustrated with the littlest things, because I was. They would still give me the time and listen to me and be patient with me until I could get onto medication. That now this medication is helping. Now this medication is helping regulate my emotions and regulate my hormones. And so now, kind of on the other side of this, now that I feel like I'm in a relatively clear head, it's been crazy to look back and see that God was with me every single step of the way. And that in the roughest parts, the week where I didn't know what my diagnosis was, the week where, or the 4 days where I wasn't sure whether or not I was going to be able to start the semester, and then in a stressful time that included so much anger, God gave me a little bit of community every single day that cared for me, provided for me, and walked with me through it in 3 different locations. When I was in Dallas, he just transplanted part of my community up there. And so it's really cool to see how God just worked with me every single step of the way. One of the coolest things was part of going to Toronto on my mission trip was I had to fundraise a large sum of money for it. And about 8 months before I went on this trip, the budget for it was set. In this time, my missionaries made an accounting mistake where they forgot to convert from the Canadian dollar to the US dollar. And so at the end of the summer, after we had gone through this, all my other teammates, they had to pay back a check to the sending organization that we went with for about $1,000 each. For me, I only had to write a check for $50 because I had to pay all my expenses in cash, all my medical expenses in cash while I was in Toronto, and that excess money covered all of them. And for me, it's blown me away, because not only did just God provide for me emotionally and socially and spiritually, but he provided me physically and monetarily with the money that I needed to walk through this while I was in a foreign country. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand it. All I know that I see God's goodness working through it. And it's helped me take a lot of huge steps and huge leaps in my faith. So in the end, he's good. He's good.
Thank you so much for watching our Behold video series. We are so excited to see how God uses these videos to glorify his kingdom. So if you have a story, or if you know other people who have a story, please feel free to contact me at this email address, because we would love to hear how God has changed your life.